Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Karl Zelinsky. I'm an indie game developer from Sweden, and I made and released this game Cat and Onion recently. And yeah, it's my first game I made all by myself, actually.
おという
And
こと、yeah. Alright, yes, okay, we will talk in English and I'll translate. Okay, here we go. ということで、こちら、皆さんこんにちはですね。向こうは、昼なので。キャットアニオンというインディーゲームを、リリースしました。カール・ジリンスキーと言いますと。で、今回がどうやら初めてのゲームだそうです。とってもちっちゃくてね、可愛いゲームでございます。何度かですね、リンクを貼っておりますが、Hold on, let me link the game again. こちらがストアページです。That's the store page. ニコニコもこんばんは。見てますよ。That's the store page link. I'm streaming on two places. There's one Japanese stream called Nico Nico and on Twitch. Alright, and what you see is on Twitch. はい、ということで皆さん、Hello という
okay,
ことで、Good evening, sorry, good afternoon again. And
hello.
yes, how are you doing? How have you been?
It's quite good.
Hmm.
I mean, I released the game a few, I don't know, it's like a month
Yeah, just a
ago now,
month, right?
maybe or something. Yeah, well, maybe a bit more. Time flies, but
Yeah, yeah.
it I'm how to say I'm sort of calming down from the whole thing of releasing a game and trying to come up with something new. So it's finally getting a bit calmer, the whole
Oh.
thing.
All right.
Because it's quite stressful.
All right. こんにちは. And someone is saying nice mug.
Oh, thank you. I don't know where I got this.
どこで買ったか分かんないって。OK、ということですね。今、ご機嫌はそこそこ良くて、で、ゲームをリリースして、ちょっと落ち着いてきたので、次どうしようかなって今考えているところだそうです。I think we should first, well, I want to talk a little bit about you, your background, and how you ended up making a game. Were you in like game creation like most of your life, or how did it go?
So I started like maybe I'm 35 now, but maybe when I was 21 or something, I kind of went to a university where you can study game development, actually. And I was there for a few years, but I was always very interested in games, before that as well. Like I always wanted to make games, but I was I'm not the kind of person who started as a child and I knew some programming, but I wasn't making games, from the from when I was 5 years old. I'm a bit slow starter.
Oh.
So but then I was like 21, 22 or something. I went to study game development, and eventually I got a job so when I started working with game development, well, when I started studying it, I wanted to make game engine. I was looking at people like John Carmack and people, who made game engine for Doom and stuff like that. So I was interested in technology. So I wanted to do stuff like that. And then, my first job in games industry was actually working for a game engine called BitSquid. It's the same game engine that's still used in these Warhammer, what's it called, like Dark Tide, the Warhammer 40,000, Dark Tide, and also the recently released, what's it called now, Helldivers 2 also uses that engine.
So you worked
But
on
it's they
what? Yeah, go ahead.
But I didn't work on those games, but I
Yeah.
worked on the engine many years ago, and that engine is discontinued, but still in use by Arrowhead and Fat Shark, who make the Warhammer games and the Helldiver games and all those things.
So one confirmation. You said you're 35?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. ですね、まず、ちっちゃい頃から別にプログラミングをずっとやってきたわけではなさそうです。ちょっとぐらいなんかしてた部分もあるけども、現在35歳で、20代ぐらい、20代前半、20、21歳の頃に、ちょっとゲーム作りたいなって思って、で、25歳ぐらいの時にかな、ゲームを学べる学校に入ったそうなんですよね。で、そこでしばらく学んで、その後、作りたかったのは最初はゲームじゃなくてゲームエンジンだったそうなんですよ。で、ジョン・カーマックですね、ドゥームの のエンジンであったりとか、そこに憧れてちょっと作りたかったと。で、最初に入ったところはビットスクイッドっていう、これ僕知らないですね。I didn't know about this。ビットスクイッドっていうゲームエンジンがどうやらあるようで、ウォーハンマーとか、ヘルダイバーズ2、どうやらこれらのエンジン使っているそうなんですね。そこに最初携わっていたそうなんです。へえ、それが最初のやつですね。ウォーハンマーシリーズ、ヘルダイバーズとかですね。So, you worked on BitSquid. Were you like within the startup,
Yeah.
or were you like helping them out?
I was no, I wasn't there from the start.
Yeah.
I came as an intern, so I came straight from this game development university as an intern, and then after my internship, it was me doing an internship over summer. I just asked them like, oh hi, I have nothing to do this summer. Can I come and intern at your place? And I did, I did. I ended up doing lots of game engine tools, like level editors and stuff like that. A little. Just making new tools and improving the old ones and stuff. But
So
then they were already maybe, I don't know, 6 people maybe at that point. So I was maybe, 6th employee or something when I got hired after. So after my internship ended, I got hired at that. And that was my first game development job, was working there. And I kind of slid into this role of game engine tools programmer. I did some stuff on the engine, but most of my focus was making these programs, the level editors and data formats and stuff, how to save all that and stuff.
that's interesting. So it is kind of like creating a game, but it's like in the middle. So there's a game engine, and then there's you, and then there's the game. Maybe. Do you think this is correct?
Yeah, it's I usually say like I mean a game engine is just the program you use to make a game.
Yeah.
So just like you need Photoshop to make a picture, you can use a game engine to make a game. But then of course there are lots of other ways to make games. You don't mean so before, when I was in university, I liked making games using just programming language like C++ and simple libraries. There's these libraries for just displaying graphics on the screen and playing sounds and stuff. So I liked using that when I was in university, but I also was interested in game engines. So it's sort of two, people often what I worked on at BitSquid was a general purpose game engine, a program that's made so that you can make sort of any kind of game.
Like Unreal.
Right. But yeah, exactly. Like Unity, Unreal, kind of like that, general purpose.
Yes.
And then, but there's also this other way, which was, when I did my hobby projects, maybe at home, I was doing more, from scratch using C++ or something, and just using some libraries to put pixels on the screen and stuff.
Yeah. You're going to say something?
Not good.
Okay, thank you.
Nah, go ahead.
Thank you very much. いやそこで最初インターンとしてそのビートスキッドっていうゲームエンジンのところに入ったらしいんですよね。でそこでしばらくお手伝いしてでその後携わっていったんですけどその当時なんか6人ぐらいの、従業員がいたそうなんですよね。で本人も開発に携わったんですがそのエンジン自体の開発をメインにするわけではなくそこで使われるツール、を、うまくこう活用作っていっていったそうなんですね。ゲームエンジンって一応ゲームっていう言葉がついてますけどアンリアルエンジンとかユニティもですけど結構汎用性これいろんな開発者の聞くんです。汎用性エンジンなんですよね。だからアンリアルエンジンもあれはゲームだけじゃなくて例えば、病院であったりとか、なんだイベントであったりとかでいろいろ使えるんですよね。で、その中でも、ゲームを作っていくっていうだからゲームに特化したわけではないんですよ。でどうやらこちらの、ビットスクイッドもそうだったらしくで自分のどうしてもそのなんだろう学生時代の時は直接プログラミングをしていたらしいんですよね、ダイレクトで。だからプログラミングを通してゲーム開発をしていた。でもそれではなくゲームエンジンを通してやろうとしていったっていうことらしいんですね。でここで聞きたいのがゲームエンジンとプログラミングその差となぜゲームエンジンに興味を持ったのか聞いてみたいですね。So you said that、when you were a student you were directly、programming and creating games, but
Yeah.
then you went into but you were interested in game engines. What's the difference and why were you interested in game engines over programming?
Yeah, so but what I was trying to get at was more that so when you when I was in university, I'd like just taking a programming language and maybe writing a program that maybe loaded an image from the hard drive and display it on screen, and play some sounds and make a game like what I would and that's usually what I would call make a game from scratch, sort of doing it that way. And in the game engine, within the game engine we made, you still needed to do programming there, but it's a much bigger program that comes with like predefined level editors and all that. While this other method of making games that I did before I was started to work with game engine was more direct. You don't have all the tools. You kind of have to make everything custom for each game. But so I was interested. I think I was interested in game engine. Like I said, when I grew up, I kind of found games like Doom and the old Doom games from the 90s. I found those very fun, and I always looked up to this guy John Carmack as some kind of Superman of video game making, and he made game engines. So I think I was making my games, at university. I was making my own games sort of in from scratch, as I say, using just a programming language. But then I also thought that I was interested in making video game engines, and so I also tried to make a few prototype of some game engines, and in some projects at school we had to make games, and then we made them sort of from scratch, but we also had to make a level editor as part of it, because we had some people who didn't we had some level designers who wanted to just build levels. So it's all kind of a bit connected, but programming games from scratch and using a game engine. But yeah, it's just where I came from and sort of where I ended up, and I think there's a bridge between them, sort of I ended up making lots of tools when I was working in projects at school. I ended up making lots of tools, so then I was a bit prepared for making the tools in a general purpose game engine that was not for a specific game, but that's there was money there was a job there, so that was all good.
But you did enjoy it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just I was very happy when I got that job, because I really felt, I made it into the gaming industry, and it was really great.
まずゲームエンジンと、ごめんなさい、今音がずれてるっていう音あるんですけど、どうですか？他に音ずれてますかね？ニコニコずれてるっていう可能性があるので、Hold on, it seems that someone has found a bit of a sound and picture is not syncing well. Let's see. Milliseconds, no, 低遅延、こっちはない。OK, so one stream. ニコニコごめん、本当にごめんだけど、もしかしたら、Give me a few seconds. Hold on.
No worries. Is it my camera or your camera?
No, I think it's mine. So it's I am streaming on 2 platforms, and one platform there is a sound and picture desyncing. So it should be how though? I'm using one. 0.5 ちょっとね、property filter, no. Fix alpha bending. Is that it? No. 今日はね、俺カメラをね、こっちの方に入れてるからなんだよね。property. That's it. No.
But it's not due to you streaming to me on Discord, right?
Could be because I usually stream it on the other one, and then I have a little delay there. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, it's fine. You can turn this one off. It's fine.
Okay. Hold on.
See if it gets better.
Okay. For the viewers, they will see both of us. But for you, you won't be able to see me anymore. But
That's
I will
fine.
be able to see you. Okay. Hold on.
That's fine.
Boom. で、これ消して。Sorry about this. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. みんなちょっと待ってね。 で、次に、こっちの V キャム消して、そしてこっちに、新しいカメラで、ただいま、これで多分大丈夫。どうですか？あいうえお、あいうえお。A, B, C, D. There we go. Yeah, okay. Because I usually stream on a different PC, so that's why I have it offset, I guess, a few milliseconds. But I forgot to put it back, so that's why. There we go. And can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Yep. All right. That's good.
perfectly.
Okay. The viewers can see both of us. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was so sorry. I was still translating. で、やっぱりジョン・カーマックに憧れてそのゲーム業界に入ったので、だからそこでゲームエンジンを気になってずっとゲームエンジン作ったんじゃないかと。で、やっぱりいろんなツールをずっと作り続けて、ツール自体もずっと楽しく作っていたとのことなんですね。So I guess because of your love towards John Carmack that you naturally went into developing or help developing game engines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I think all that I had a sort of a romanticized view of game engines that it was like it was the extra cool part of game dev
Okay.
or something like that.
And in reality, how was it?
It well, it's quite funny because we can like this game I just made, Cat and Onion, is actually not made using a general purpose game engine like that. Like the BitSquid or Unreal or Unity or anything like that.
What is it using?
So Cat and Onion I made in a programming language called Odin with a graphics library called Raylib. So it's actually very simple it's actually very similar to the method I used to make games back in university. Because then in university, I used to use C++ and SFML, which is programming language plus a library to display pictures on screen and play sounds and stuff. And so that's how I did it now. And the thing is, I actually, for making games myself, when I want to make something, I actually prefer working like that. Doing it from scratch and not using a game engine. So I don't like using game engines, but if I work professionally, at a big company, then I like to make game engines and not make games. Because after BitSquid, so and stuff, then I worked at a company called Hazelight, where we worked on A Way Out, this co-op game.
Oh.
And then and I also worked at a small indie studio after that, and at those places, we worked in big game engines. And I sort of realized over time that when I work in a company, I think I prefer to work on game engine things, like making editors and the game engine itself. But when I make a game myself, I like using just a programming language and a library because it's just more fun, especially when you work alone like this. It's sort of this kind of you can be a bit more mad scientist maybe somehow. I feel like
Yeah, you have more liberty and you can take risks, I guess.
yeah, and it's just there's this thing about making video games where if you go on Reddit or something and you ask like, oh, how, there's always people on Reddit asking, how do I get started in game dev? What should I use? Like, what's the best? How do I get productive?
Yes, I would
all that
ask that
stuff.
question. Yes.
Yeah, and I would say try the like, I would say if someone tells you that this way is best, then don't listen to them too much because it's sort of making art, and if you make art, you must choose if you think it's most fun to use oil paint or acrylic paint or anything. It needs to be fun for you, and it's the same thing with making games. You must choose a way that is fun for you. So you must like you. So for someone who wants to make games, I would say like you can try different game engines, try Unreal, try Game Maker, try Unity, try Godot or something, and then also just try learning some programming languages, try them with some libraries, and see like just make different things and try new things, and don't become don't become a fanboy of like, oh, I've chosen this engine and now I'm gonna be the Unity fanboy or the Unreal fanboy and for no reason, just because you need to choose something that gives you joy and that you like, and then use that. So it's a lot about it. Yeah, it's sort of like, I paint with oil paint sometimes because I find it really fun, and I really like the medium, how the paint behaves, and I think there's maybe some analogy there.
Okay, I think I get it. Yes, I talk to many developers, and a lot do say do what you want or do what you like. But that doesn't mean, like go here, go there. It means that find something that you do actually like and you can concentrate on and utilize more effectively, right? And I like the oil painting part because while you create a game, how that engine reacts to your input is probably fun for you, maybe?
Yeah, I mean it's I think you need to it just the daily process itself needs to have some kind of joy in it. So whether you use a game engine or you just programming a game from scratch in a programming language, you need just to do it in a way that brings you joy. And if someone on the internet is telling you like, no, that's a bad way, you should use Unity instead, or you should use Godot instead, and you feel that, and then you try that, and it's less fun to you, then there's nothing wrong with you. It's just it's not the correct way for you because it's an expressive art form. So you can't just you must do it your own way on your own terms.
Yeah, sure. Okay, someone said that I started using Rayleigh because of his tutorials. Yes, I do know that you create videos, you do tutorials. That's great. Yeah, it's fun how a lot of people do that now. A lot of developers are helping out. Okay, let me translate a bit what we talked about. Sorry, one more thing. You mentioned Hazelight. Sorry, could you recap on that? Were you working there or?
Yeah. So sorry, I jumped around a bit because I was talking about my game engine stuff, and I jumped to Catalonia, and then I jumped back to the story sort of.
Okay.
So after BitSquid, I worked at Hazelight for a while, and I worked on a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Hazelight
Yeah,
is that
on a way out.
A way. Oh, so that Hazelight, a way out. It takes two Hazelight. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Same. And I didn't work on It Takes Two because I wasn't working there after.
But you worked on A Way Out.
And yeah, as a game, and that's my first game. That's my first job as a gameplay programmer. So I wasn't doing the engine. I was doing, it's my first time in game dev as making the gameplay code, and I made systems for just general gameplay systems, and also I did some work on the multiplayer stuff because you can play that over the internet.
That was
and stuff.
Wow. Okay. All right, that's a big shock here. Okay. All right, let's go. まずですね、いろんなところで、働いたという話もしてたんですけど、だいぶ今ちょっと長く話になりましたね。ヘイズライトという会社でも働いてるそうです。ヘイズライトは、最近の It Takes Two でも、彼本人は A Way Out っていう2018年ですねのゲームに、携わったそうですね。そこでプログラミングなどをやっていたそうなんです。A Way Out was very popular around the world, and it was also popular around here. And it had a very strong message, and not only that, it had a strong message, but it also presented itself or delivered as a proper good game, which was quite a difficult thing to do recently, I imagine. で、そこで、そこで、いろいろと、プログラミング転々としたりもしたし、でも、ゲームエンジンからだからちょっとね、こう、プログラミングの方にも行ったしっていう。で、こちらのキャット&アニオンは、なんだっけ、オーディンというエンジン、プログラミングとレイリブっていうのを使ってやったそうなんですね。だから、 どうやらライブラリーがあってそれを表示させるみたいな方式でプログラミングもできると。だからまあ我々素人にとってはね、プログラミングもうね、ずっとカタカタからいろいろツールを使いながらっていうのもあるけど、全部難しいけど、それをより効率よく。で、彼本人も YouTube でいろんなね、動画を上げてたり、チュートリアル配信もやってるそうなんですね。Excuse me。なので、そこで、いろいろ学びつつやっていったそうなんですね。で、そこから、I think I want to ask one more thing though. It's a bit jumping
Yeah.
topic, but when did you start music?
Oh,
Yeah.
I I think I when I was I started playing guitar a bit when I was 19 or something.
Wow.
I started one day. Took one guitar in at home and started playing a bit. And I played a lot of guitar. I played in bands with friends,
Oh.
and stuff. And when I moved, but for the last few years I haven't played much guitar, but I started playing piano instead. Maybe when I was maybe I don't know how long time ago, but maybe 10 years ago or something, I got a piano or
I
something.
I'm making a
And I just tried.
I'm making a very surprised face here, by the way. I'm like, what? とりあえずギターは19歳ぐらいで、現在はピアノの方もやってるそうなんですね。So it's not from when you were a child, but again, in this industry, I guess, when you start something from 20, after 20 years old, it's usually late, right? But
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. you,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I think I do feel that you're having a good time, that you're enjoying yourself, and I hope you are. I hope you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a great time. And it's I and like the 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 music also is like how to say I I think I my mom usually says that we should have had a piano at home because I think I have had quite an easy time learning to play instruments, but I didn't do it really when I was young. I think we had some drums at some point that I liked playing, but I wasn't really ever doing anything until I was like 19, 20.
やっぱ19歳以降、19歳とか20歳ぐらいまでは楽器全然ちゃんとやったことなかったらしいです。なので、本当ね、こういう時、こういう時代ってさ、ちっちゃい頃からやってないとなかなか続かないわけやん。でも、ある程度年いっても始められてるっていうのがすごくいいっていう。でも、雰囲気といい意味で違ったエネルギッシュな方で、someone, that person who recommended you is commenting that the vibe that he gets from the game and the vibe that he gets from you is quite different, which is very interesting for him. And yeah,
Yeah, it's it. I think I don't know. I think maybe maybe when I talk I become a bit more like because the game right is
yeah,
quite
yes,
like it's a bit silly and chaotic and stuff,
yes,
and
yes.
I'm absolutely like that sometimes, but
Yeah.
then also I but I think the one thing that I have in common with the game is that I try to always be like positive and
Yes,
happy,
I feel
and
that a lot. Yes.
so it's I think those two things I hopefully are the
Yeah.
same.
一応ね、やっぱりゲームの時とこういう時は結構話し始めたりはするとは言ってますね。でもやっぱりできるだけハッピーな、で、なんかゲームはハッピーでカオスだけど、できるだけ自分もハッピーで、なんかいい感じでいけていたらいいなとのことだそうです。Alright, I think we'd like to talk a little bit about the game now. So, but
Mm?
first, I think I'd like to show the Steam video if that's okay. Boom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, こっちがいいかな。 I think that's a very sweet video. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Someone I remember someone already bought the game today, so that's good. Okay, I hope I helped.
Oh, thank you.
三上さん
Yeah,
買ったの伝えました。
you help a lot.
No. Okay, so this is very okay. Let's see. First off, the video. It's giving out good vibes. The music. So you did that music? The piano.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's played on the. I have a piano here, and
Donation?
so it's mostly just recorded straight. It's an electric piano, and it's just recorded straight. And it's there's like I think I didn't. I think you watched. Did you watch the trailer? Yeah, you watched the trailer with the text on there.
Yes. Yes.
Like
the right.
you're a cat.
The
Yeah,
one on the left. Yes.
yeah. So that one has more of a sort of up-tempo music, and then I also while you play the game, there's more of a slow jazz
Yes,
piece
yes.
that I made. But and yeah, I it's my first time making music for a game, so it was well, there's many firsts in this game, but yes, the music I was very scared for a while because I just had like this one song, the jazz piece, and then I felt I needed something more, and then I'm like, oh, can I make more music? Like because I haven't I played in bands, but I never put out any piano music I made online, so it was a bit scary. somehow.
最初動画で、聞いた動画見ましたけど、その動画で流れた曲なんですが、本人が作ったそうですね。で、これは結構まあアップテンポ、まあちょっとメローな感じですけど、自分でピアノを弾いてやったと。で、バンドはやってたことはあると。でもこのような形で、自分からねこう出していくっていうのはなかなかちょっと怖い部分はあったとのことです。So the other video, maybe that has the jazz piece?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's listen to that then. Boom, boom, boom. Wait. Wait, is this the one that I just listened to? Boom, boom. It's a good video, so I'll just watch it again.
Yeah, I didn't have the video on screen when you watched the first one. That's why I was confused.
Oh, really?
But this is the one with, this is the one with the jazz piece.
Okay, here you go. And this is
that
okay.
is more up tempo.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I can hear the beat a bit faster. True. Okay. Alright. で、これをやってでちょっと怖かったっていう部分もあったそうなんですね。Alright, so how did Cat and Onion start? Like どうやって始まったか。
There's two different parts to how it started. So I can say the first part is that I was working at a small game dev company making a indie game. We were like 5 people, and we were in San Francisco for Game Developers Conference, and we were flying back, and I had nothing to do on the way back. So then I remember that I had Odin and Raylib installed on my laptop. So I just, because I wanted to try that combination out, so I made a super tiny little game on the plane where you're just a cat that can run and jump and stand on blocks, and I made like a 2-frame animation that looks absolutely terrible. So I made just a tiny sort of I just made a tiny toy with a cat jumping around, and there wasn't much plan to it. And then when I came home, eventually, I started to I thought it was a bit fun to work on because of the way I like I think the way I was working on it from like a technical, like I said, like I kind of liked using Odin and Raylib. I thought it was quite fun, and it was reminiscent of this old university days where I used C++ and SFML. But it felt like and I felt like, oh, it's very fun to work like this. So I just started working on it, and I wanted to make it so that initially I had no plan, like what's the game about. I just wanted to make the cat and platforming feel nicer. So I wanted to make it so that you could run around, jump, grab ledges, and there was just a cat animation and like green boxes that with no textures on them. And I was just playing around with making sure that uh, the feeling of the jumping around and grabbing ledges and stuff felt fun to play around with. So and at that point I was still like, I don't have any plan at all to make this into a game. I was still having another job and stuff. So that's sort of from, yeah.
That's like the pre-prototype even.
Yeah, and I think it this is also, comes back to like if people tell you how to make games and where you should start, there is no rule, because the best way is to start with something that you think is fun to play around with and then see. Well, you can also. I mean, now I'm almost giving advice on what's the best way. What I wanted to say is that
yes.
for me, for me it was playing around with something like that and just seeing how to make it fun. But for some people, maybe it's writing a spreadsheet of data and figuring out maybe it's a complicated card game you're making and you're filling out all the data and the stuff. But for me, it was like that, and then I just continued building on it. So eventually. Can get to like I said, there was two parts to where it came from, the game. So there was I was doing this little prototype with the cat jumping around, but then I had also I had told my girlfriend that this I had just made up one day a silly story, like out of nowhere. She was just like, tell me a story, and then I was like, yes, there was a cat who was friends with a squirrel, and the squirrel was making pancakes, and then the cat said there was very nice pancakes, and then jumped into the pancake batter, and then and then went to another world and stuff. It was something like that. I told her, and then I had a cat already, which was just because that was just, I think also because she kind of likes playing cat games. So the only kind of marketing, the only kind of thing I was thinking about from a standpoint of, is this, is there a market for this? I was like, yeah, she likes cat games, and there's a lot of people who buy cat game on Steam. So that's why I put the cat in the original prototype. And then I had told her this silly story about a cat with a squirrel friend and stuff. So then I started trying to put that in.
Wait. So, do you like cats though?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you just said that the reason that it was a cat because a lot of people like it on Steam, but when it was a prototype.
Oh yeah.
When it was a prototype, did you think that from the start, or did you just try out a cat?
I think I just put a cat in because I like cats.
Okay, yeah. Afterwards,
but afterwards I was just like, oh, maybe I can keep it like that because what kind of main character could I have? And I was like, well, it would be fun to try to. I found it fun also to make the animations, the climbing and stuff. I found all that very fun to make. Both the code and also making the graphics, sort of like animating it and stuff. I thought was quite fun.
All right. Okay, let me try that. Okay, let me try translate that. Okay, so どうやらですね、まあ旅行してたらしいんですよね。まあこのキャット&オニオンはどうやって始まったのかっていう質問だったんですけど、まあ旅行してた時にちょっと時間があったと。で、その時パソコンがあった。で、オーディンのレイディングも入っていると。ゲームを作る環境整っている。じゃあちょっとテストしてみようかなって言うと、チャカって。もともとね、その時オーディンっていうソフトウェアとそのレイディブというツールかな、を使うのを楽しんでいたと。じゃあ移動中にちょっと軽くなんか作ってみようと。でそこで、猫のキャラクターがいて、その猫が、ジャンプしたりするっていうのをプラットフォーマーみたいなの作ってたそうなんですよね。でそこで、その猫のジャンプの感じをぴったりとね気持ちよくジャンプできるようにするっていうのをいろいろテストしていって、そこからはまり込んでいったそうなんですよ。それが開始の一つで、もう一つがある時彼女さんになんかお話ちょっと教えて、なんか なんか Tell me a story ってよく言うのね。なんかお話ししてっていう感じで。その時に、じゃあある日猫がいて、友達にリスがいましたと。っていうのを適当に言ってたらしいんですよね。で、そこがうまく組み合わさったそうなんですよ。で、どうやら Steam の時、Steam を意識し始める時に、Steam ではやっぱり猫は、共通だよね。猫は人気があると。ということで、そのまま継続して、だからプロトタイプを作る前の段階ですね。プロトタイプを作る前の段階でもう猫とプラットフォームっていうのが存在していた。で、ストーリーも存在していた。で、そこからプラットフォームが作って、プラットフォーム、このキャットアニオンに行ったそうなんですね。そう、猫のアクション心地よくてすごくいいプレイ体験でした。someone saying that the actions, the movement of the cat was really nice. It was really cozy and good feedback, and especially when climbing onto the walls. And I agree. I have to agree on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That was what I initially, a lot of the time I spent initially, like I said, that's sort of the first thing I did after making my first little tiny prototype of the cat jumping around was to try to. I was only focusing in on trying to make the cat jumping around feel fun and sort of. What some people sometimes call juicy. I just wanted it to have like this nice feeling to it. So I was just doing that for a while. Like at this point, I was just working weekends and some evenings, just playing around with this because I was still having other job.
How long were you working on that, like cat movement and stuff?
I think maybe some evenings and weekends for a few weeks, maybe. Like it's just a bit here and there. So but I think if you compressed it, it's probably like it's a bit hard to say. But the initial version of it, maybe it took me like 2 weeks to make it all feel nice and fun. But then of course I have replaced and like I've also improved animations later because. So one thing about this game, I think I have a Twitter thread somewhere with my history of making the game, and the thing about this game is that I had done some pixel art before, but only still images. I had never animated before, so I was learning animation as I was making the game. So my first attempts at sort of animating. I had to replace my art over and over again. Like I think the cat walking animation is maybe the 4th version, the one that's in the game, compared to the beginning.
Wow! ね、そう、チャカチャカチャカで簡単に作れないよね。ですね、猫で、こうやって作り始めていったんですね。特にモーションの部分はだいぶ作り始めて、でモーション結構ね、うまく作るのをはまり込んでいったそうなんですよね。週末とかメインの仕事もあったので、週末とかをかけて数週間かけてそのアクションだったり動きをですね突き詰めていったと。でどうやらねドット絵もともとアニメーションをやったことなかったそうなんですよ。ドット絵、静止のドット絵はね、静止画としてのドット絵はやっていたけども、アニメーション全くやってなかったので、そこで学びながら、レディットとかでもね、スレッドを作りながら、学びながらやっていたそうなんですよね。だから試行錯誤をしていたそうです。で、この猫のモーションも猫のタイプもどうやらいろいろあって、これを今見ているやつですね、これどうやら 4つ目、4バージョン目だそうです。だからいろいろと作り直してっていうのをやったそうなんですね。So I have my playthrough of the game. I've cut it off from until where you get onto that onion thingy, and then it's gonna loop. If that's okay, just tell me. Yeah. And today I do want to talk about the game, but I really love the story. So I don't want to go too deep into spoilers. It is a new game.
Yeah.
So yes, and as a developer and as a person who finished the game, I think we're going to try and really go vaguely, but also kind of explain how the story goes in a vibe, I guess. All right. So cat and onion. Why the onion? But I do have a few theories that may be a bit of a spoiler. So just tell me why it's cat and onion, if you can.
Yeah, like I said, I can tell you. So I like I said, what I want. I had this game mechanics, and then I had this little silly story about the cat wanting to make pancakes with its friend the squirrel and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I also had like this from many years ago. I wanted to make a space game or something. I wanted a game where you could go into a rocket and fly around a bit, sort of. I wasn't really sure what that would be, but I just wanted to have something where you can. I had this idea many years ago that I want a game that sort of starts with you going into a rocket and then just flying out of a forest, and you kind of like just going up there. So for a while I was like, okay, I somehow need to go into a rocket and fly away. And I guess so you said we don't have to tell what happens after you go into a rocket and fly away. But in the game there is a rocket you can go into and then fly away. And what so when I was making the game, so I had my nice cat climbing mechanics that I was happy with.
Yes.
And I was starting to add in I was starting to add in more characters and stuff, but then finally I wanted to put in a rocket also, so and then see where that goes. And so then I drew a rocket, and my first sort of prototype drawing, I just thought it would be funny if the rocket was kind of round. Ish, like I was just making this weird round shaped rocket. I think it was inspired by maybe some old cartoons. I don't know where it came from really. And then I don't know if it was me or my girlfriend, but we looked at it and was like, because I drew it kind of red, so it kind of looked like a red onion. So one of us said it looks like an onion, and then I just said, it's the space onion. And then I just kind of kept the shape it has is exactly the original shape I drew. I just added in I just changed the graphics around. So the reason, and then I sort of put a mouth on it so it can speak. So it's actually it sort of looks like an onion shaped thing with a rocket engine. It has a window you can jump into, but it also has a mouth that can speak. And so I don't know, all those things kind of came together somehow.
Wait,
so that's why it became Cat and Onion.
Okay, so first there was a cat, right? Then there was your idea of a rocket. Then there was a rocket which looked like an onion, and then hence the title.
Yeah. The title, I had many different ideas for a title. Because also, the squirrel is in there. I was like thinking of maybe there should be something with cat and pancakes, the title. Yes. But eventually I settled on this Cat and Onion title because it was nice and short, and I also found it quite fun to have this little like this onion kind of becomes your little friend.
Yeah. Especially also, in Japan, we do like to, what's the word? I forgot. We do like to make humans out of things, as you know, like everything.
Inanimate. Living inanimate objects.
Yes. We love that. So we see everything moving. So that's we can relate to that onion a lot. All right, let's check. まず猫が言いましたと。はい。で次にですね、彼自身ですね、もともとロケット、宇宙のなんか作りたいなっていうのあったそうなんですよね。なので宇宙に向かってロケットが飛び立つ。これちょっとゲームにもどっか入れてみたいなとかって前々から、妄想していたらしいです。で、こう森から林からロケットがボーン出ていくの、これもいいかもな。じゃあちょっとロケット変えてみようかな。最初インスピレーションね、どっから来たかちょっと覚えてないけど、なんか丸く変えてみたそうです。なんか UFO 的なもの。で、それ赤く作ってて、それで彼女さんともしかしたら一緒に行ってた時に、あれこれもしちょっと玉ねぎじゃねっていうところでロケットの玉ねぎが生まれたそうなんですね。で、だから、そこからキャット&アニオンという、オニオンというタイトルが出てきたそうなんです。Okay, without spoilers, I was talking with another developer, and he said that, maybe the onion is because there's layers. And okay, I'm not going to go deep into that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not. I hope everyone who plays it at least understand that the onion part is the actual onion you're flying in, because I think at least the squirrel says it's the onion, but
Okay.
it I guess the shape of the space onion is not, it's actually it's not totally clear if you just look at the image of it that it is supposed to be an onion, but I think the squirrel and the onion itself says I am the space onion,
Okay,
and that's sort of
but the background, it does, the rocket does spell an O, so yeah. All right, now, why?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, why does the cat want to make pancakes? Why does the cat like pancakes? Do you like pancakes? Is that why?
I think it comes from so when I grew up, we had a cat called Pontus.
Cat called Ponto. Oh, that's the name
And
of your cat. Okay.
Yeah. He's unfortunately no longer with us, but because I mean, it was when I was a teenager.
Okay, yeah.
But he really liked pancakes, because whenever you make pancakes, sometimes when you make the first pancake, the pan is not hot enough, so the first pancake kind of breaks apart, and you put it aside.
Yeah.
And what my dad started doing was he started always giving the first pancake to the cat, and the cat really liked it. So it's Pontus the pancake cat.
Okay, that's such a sweet story, man. Okay, OK、なんでパンケーキなのか、なぜ猫はパンケーキをゲーム内で欲しがるのかっていう話をした時に、どうやらですね、本人昔ポンタスですね、という、猫を飼ってたそうなんですよ。もう残念ながらね、お亡くなりになってるんですけども、まあずっと、結構前ですからね、その時にどうやらですね、パンケーキが好きだったそうです。で、お父さんが、パンケーキをね、普段作る時に、最初のパンケーキは、その、フライパンが温まってないから、ちょっとね、まあ、失敗すると。そこでお父さんがパンケーキを作る時にですね、毎回、その失敗した1枚のパンケーキを猫にあげてたそうなんです。で、その猫、ポンタス君は、お坊さんは、めちゃくちゃ、そのパンケーキが好きで、なったそうです。だから、キャット&オニオンで、猫は最初にパンケーキを、まあ、作りに行くとのことです。That's okay. So that's where the quests are put in, right? The quests of the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the game, I guess, has two quests initially.
Yes.
So initially, the game kind of starts with the cat is dreaming.
Yes.
There's a little sequence in the beginning where the cat is dreaming, and the squirrel comes into the dream and says, "It's time to make pancakes."
Yes.
And then you can actually that's just to make sure that the player has some kind of idea of what the game is about earlier. And then you meet the squirrel, and the squirrel says, "Yeah, we're gonna make pancakes." And then you need to go on this little quest and collect 3 ingredients.
Yes.
But when you collect the last ingredient, things goes a bit wrong, and you have to, and it sort of becomes this quest to, you kind of get this extra quest that you need to help your friend the squirrel, because he's. I think it's on the video you show, because does the video go up to when you find the onion?
Yes, it should. It should be the last scene in the video is the. Hold on, let's see. How far can I move? これか? There we go. Here?
Oh yeah. So as you see in the video, like when you get the final pancake ingredient, which is the egg, then you come back to the squirrel, and the squirrel's tree has, like, the tree is chopped down.
Yes.
Then
that's very sad. That's very sad.
And yeah, it's crying, and you need to get, because then the squirrel also says they chop down all oaks on the planet.
Yes.
So then, you need to go find a new oak.
Yes.
So then you need to go find an acorn for the squirrel to
Yes.
grow a new oak. So that sort of becomes your new quest. But you still have all the pancake
Yes.
ingredients for later. But my initial story didn't have this. The initial idea of a story was just a cat and a squirrel making pancakes. There wasn't much of a drama there. There wasn't this. Usually when you tell a story, maybe you have a little intro, and then there's a bit of an escalation. Something happens.
Yes.
So that's sort of how I put the
post onion thing.
Yeah. And then I also got my go-to, like, go in a rocket and fly away stuff. I got I could add in together with that.
Oh man, yeah. Again, after it flies out, I'm not going to spoil it, but after it flies, then that first scene after the flight, I was like in awe. I was like, "Whoa, okay, oh!" And then it continues. Then you have to find the acorn. Then you get there, and then double O, and then there's that ending. And yeah, I was blown away very nicely. It was really good. It was pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you.
No. So yeah, and we did have a little debate on like the philosophy of the whole thing. Like, was there okay? I know that sometimes a game or anything, art, can seem very deep, but the intent of the author was very light. Was there something deep in this cat and onion game? Were you like thinking something philosophical?
I think not initially. I don't think there was anything deep initially, because initially I was just like, it has to be this thing about helping your friend the squirrel, and I was more about surprising the player with having this different environments that you get to that you didn't expect.
Yes.
And then and stuff. But as I was making it, I think I did put some of my own ideas of sort of
how the worldview, the space, and stuff.
Yeah, no, maybe there's some like existentialism in there, like in the game about like what is actually reality and stuff. And I think I put some of my own sort of little ideas about that in there, but it wasn't planned out from the start that it's gonna have this deep philosophical thing. That's just I put in there because it sort of fits, I thought, and it was so I think it's both. And this whole game was made in sort of such a way that I always just like, if something is missing, then I try to figure out what can I put in there that makes it more fun to play while also
yes. So it came naturally, right? I think that's the best way to put it. Everything came naturally, and it all fit in like a puzzle. I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Alright, sorry, I forgot to translate. ごめんなさい、翻訳忘れてたわ。キャット&オニオンのタイトル言ったよね。で、その後で、ネタバレはできるだけしません。で、ここの皆さんネタバレご注意ください。ですね、まず最初にパンケーキを探しに行くんですけど、その後でまあね、宇宙行くんですけど、で、その後まだもうちょっとあるんですよね。そこはすごい楽しいんですけど、結構ね、深い意味でも取れるんですよね、このゲームって。で実際にいろいろそういう考えで作ったんですかってで言ったら、いや、まずこう作って、でその後宇宙に行って、でもそこだけだから物足りないなというところで肉付けを継続していったそうなんですよ。これってすごい難しいことだと思うんですよね。肉付けってやりすぎるとだるくなるんですよね。開発もプレイヤーも。でもそこのバランスをうまく落とし込んでたと思うんですよね。ゲーム自体が多分1時間とかもう下手すりゃそれもいかないレベルなので、長さなのでちょうど良かったのかもしんないですね。これからちょっとね、ゲームの作り方とかに関してマーケティングも結構いろいろやられてる方だと思うので、そこも聞いてみたいと思います。So after like the game was completed a bit, say you said the pancake part, then you said that the players needed some kind of a hook. I have heard I have heard that putting too much into a game really spoils it, and erasing or cutting the edges is very important for game development. Weren't you afraid that adding more stuff would spoil the game, or what was your decision making in that part?
I felt like so there's always this balance. I think I put in, when I was making the game and I was just jumping around with the cat, I felt like there wasn't, there was just some platforming, but there wasn't, and it was a little quest to go fetch these ingredients, but there wasn't enough to do. So I wanted to both extend the game in sort of where you go, the story a bit, and then also combine that with sort of maybe adding in a few new mechanics. But you are correct that. So I thought that something was missing, so I thought something needed to be added. But it is a thing in games that you always need to be careful with adding new features. So you usually say that a game has a scope. It's how big the game is, like what's the whole everything of the game sort of. And what tends to happen is in game dev is that you think that, oh, my game is not good enough. Maybe you just haven't polished it enough, so it's not fun. But maybe you think your game is not good enough for some reason, and then you think that what is missing is some new feature. So then you start putting in new features instead, and then you sometimes end up with features that instead of focusing on making the features that are already there better, you start making new gameplay features that are there just to make it bigger. And that's usually, like, when you do that in order to make the game feel more fun, you usually call it scope creeping. And this is actually the hardest part of making games. Choosing, there was, I think it was Timothy Kane, he has a YouTube channel, Tim Kane. He talks about game dev all the time. One of the hardest things about games is not figuring out what to like, it's not coming up with good ideas and putting them in. It's coming up with ideas and knowing if they are good for this particular game or not. Like if you have your cat game already like working, and then you get a new idea, being able to know quickly, is this a good idea for this game in particular, or not? Like it can be a good idea for some other game, but if it is a good idea for this game or not. And being able to quickly do that sort of like thing, that's the hardest part of game design. Being able to quickly decide if this idea fits into this game. And when it doesn't fit in and you still put it in, then you will sit there for a long time and sort of, working on it. And usually what happens is that when you worked on it for a month, then you realize it doesn't work, and then you remove it completely again. Being able to quickly see that, so it's a lot there, but I would say it touches on something important.
Yes. I've heard so many times that people had to roll back their data because, okay, this isn't good, this isn't working, kind of thing, and then it never ends, right? I always hear that it's the hardest thing about game development. It's to stop game development, and I think you did a very good job of balancing that, because when you said that the game felt not enough, right? I think that's one of the biggest decisions, and I wanted to know why you thought it wasn't enough. But before that, while you think about that, I want to translate what you just said. ですね、キャットオニオンにやっぱり肉付けしていくと、やっぱりね、ゲームっていうのはゲーム開発ってやっぱり永遠に終わらないんですよね。いくらでも入れ込める、こうつけていくことできるので、できればそのゲームに合ったものでできるだけこう削いでいくっていうのが、作業が結構重要とは聞くんですよ。いろんな方が曰くね。で、キャットオニオンではでもある時点でなんかあれ足りねえなっていうところでこれ追加していったそうなんですよ。その大きめのお話を。でその時に大事なのは何かっていうのを本人曰く、新しいアイディアね、ゲームに対してゲームを開発中に新しいアイデアを考えた時に、あ、これいいアイデアだと思った時に瞬間的にね、できるだけ素早く判断しないといけないことが、このゲームにとってそのアイデアはいいことか悪いことなのかを考えないといけない。しかも素早く。なぜかというと、あ、これいいアイディアだな、でもどうかな、っていうことでこう、開発始めちゃって、で1ヶ月ぐらいかけてちょっとそのアイディアを入れてみたと、あ、やっぱダメだったってなると1ヶ月がパーになり、結局削除してロールバックしないといけなくなっちゃうから、そこの判断がすごい大事だと思うとのことです。もう一度言うと、いいアイデアを考えたとしても、このゲームにとっていいアイデアかどうかっていうのを素早く判断することが大事とは言ってましたね。Alright, so why did you think at a certain point the game was not enough? I guess is the question.
So, so I had the cat game sort of with the climbing around,
Yes.
and I was having this thing where you like, okay, maybe you can go around fetch ingredients for making pancakes.
Yes, cat and
And
pancakes.
the game was, yeah, cat and pancakes, and there was a squirrel. There was cat, squirrel, and pancakes.
Yeah.
And the game, the movement was quite fun to play around with, and it was quite cute. I thought it was a cute little story, and I was also, and that already at that point, I was trying to do like this adventure game style thing where you can pick up items and then go use them with something else, and you can talk to. So I was trying to do sort of a 2D adventure game. So the problem was not like there was two problems essentially. One of them was that I wanted there to be. I don't think that, like, sure, the game was fun to jump around and it was cute, but I think it's always good, like, then some bad stuff happens and then in the end everything is fine and happy. But having that sort of variety in there, like making the game feel a bit dark for a bit and then suddenly becoming bright again and having this contrast in there, I think is very important.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was who was it? It's Bob Ross says that in order to have light, you need to have some darkness, which is he's painting. But
Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's from a story perspective. I felt like, I need to put in the rocket and going somewhere and having something more. But then I spent a lot of the game development time on just feeling like, maybe I need more mechanics somehow, and so I think the story part, where I extended it and sort of made it varied a bit more, was a very good decision in terms of like I said before, like choosing what is a good idea for this game or not. And the other stuff, with the mechanics, picking stuff up, talking, like there's lots of conversation in the game and just, picking items up and using them with different things, sort of like an adventure game. That stuff I already had, but then I was trying to add something more to that. And that's, where I, was starting to do the wrong thing of trying to add more. So I was like putting in this thing where you could go around and smack things with your paw, and I was adding more and more buttons so you could inspect things in your inventory. And the game was starting, when you tried, the problem was I was trying then to make a tutorial for the game, and then it started to feeling hard to explain because I had at that point the game had one extra button that you could press to inspect the thing in inventory, and there was both in the game you find both a baseball bat, but then there was also a paw that you could use, and just there was a bit unclear when both needed to be used and stuff. So and many of these things I had added because I thought the game needed some more gameplay things in there, and I was still worrying that the game was not enough because so many games have really strong core mechanics. It's a puzzle games. It's a really strong core mechanic. This game is more like you can jump around, pick things up, and talk to people, and it's easy to feel like your game doesn't have enough. So I was spending a lot of time trying to come up with something more to put in, but in the end I did the right thing of actually I kept the nice extra things added to the story with the contrasts in the story, but I actually simplified the mechanics so that I removed the paw so that you actually only have the baseball bat. You go around and smack things with a baseball bat whenever you want to open hatches and stuff.
Yes, that's right.
And I also removed that extra button for inspecting things in inventory and stuff. So it's so I did both. I added things that was good for the game, and then I added things that was bad for the game. And in the end, I had to remove the bad things and keep the good things. And when actually one of my, I was a bit worried about this game, but when I removed the bad things, then I suddenly was like, oh, now it all makes sense, because I can explain the game in a tutorial and so actually. That was in like November or December last year. So when I sort of just removed some features, and then suddenly the game felt more less confusing
Yeah.
because it's not fun when it feels confusing.
It felt correct. No, not correct. Sorry. It felt like the game. It felt like the game was the game you wanted to make. I guess. Like it was right for you, right?
Yeah, in a sense, it just you know, I had a problem where I felt like for a long time the game I wasn't sure it would be fun to play because so this is an important, like, if people want to go play this game, this is a very short, like it takes like 30 to 60 minutes to complete. It's a short story game with adventure game mechanics and a silly story and dialogue and stuff. And I was a bit worried that okay, the game is very short and the sort of and does it have enough mechanics? But then I think of lots of other games, like there's all these games like What Remains of Edith Finch. It's essentially a game where you walk around and get told stories about the environment.
Walking
simulators.
simulators.
Walking simulators, some people call them. Yeah. And I thought of those games and I was like, well, I have more gameplay than some of those games already. So actually, and that taught me a thing, that sometimes you should stop worrying about, like, just put in whatever mechanics you need to tell the story or interact with the world in a fun way, and then polish those, because sometimes it's just that maybe you need just to polish it a bit and then make sure that it's you can explain it in a tutorial and stuff. And when all those things come together, suddenly the game felt fun even to me, and that was when I kind of felt like, oh, the game is fun to play for me now. And then I feel like, oh, maybe then someone else wants to play it. But I had a bit of a problem in October last year where like I wasn't sure if the game was fun because I was starting to focus on the wrong things and stuff.
This is very interesting. This story is very interesting. Thank you. Okay. Yes, I think the next question would be, before I translate, while I think over it. Again, walking simulators. There's a word in Japanese called fuinkige, is aesthetic or atmospheric games. Games that feel good. It's like walking simulators. Games, say, side-scrolling platformers like Limbo. That's only a few clicks, right? But the game mechanics itself ain't deep. It's not like FPS. Some people like it, some people don't. And if you look at Steam reviews, some people really say that there's nothing to do in a game. It just looks good. And they don't want to delve deep into what the game is presenting visually or with sound. And there are games which people say they're too short. There's this trend sometimes on Twitter saying that the game was good, but it's too short, so refunded. I think that is hella stupid. And I think you can feel that. So I guess what I would want to ask is, walking simulator games or games that have little mechanics, and they're games which have a lot of mechanics. I wouldn't say which is better. How should a developer choose or decide what they want to make, I guess, is the question that I would ask. While I translate, can you please think about that? Okay. まず、ゲーム自体ですね、いろいろとも作っていたので、とても可愛くで楽しいゲームを作れたが、なぜ、追加でストーリーを作ろうとしたのかっていうと、ボブ・ロス、みんな覚えてますか？画家さんのね、もう言ってたけども、やっぱりですね、暗闇がないと光もね、生きないということで、やっぱりコントラスト、何かしらですね、ずっと楽しいばっかりじゃなくて、何かこうね、物語引っ張るものが欲しかった。ということで、そこをね、どうしようかなっていうところを考えてたそうなんですよね。で、メカニックを新しくね、入れようかなと、システムですね、追加のシステム入れようかなとも一瞬思ったらしいんですよ。どうしようかなと。なんか追加のボタン、猫の手でなんか物を叩く。今バットがあるんですけど、ゲームの中で。バットだけじゃなくて、猫の手でこうパンパンってね、やるのも入れようかな。で、追加のボタンも入れようかなっていうのを考えたらしいんですよ。でもなんかね、良くないと。なんかおかしいな。一応それ作ってみてるけど、で、チュートリアルを作るときになんか気持ち悪い、なんか嫌だっていう時が、去年の10月だったそうなんですね。で、去年の11月に、じゃあどうしよう、っていう時に、よし、もうそれ取っ払おうと。 それ取っ払ってでストーリーだけ残そうっていう時に、あ、これいいじゃんっていうのを気づいたそうなんですよ。だから、ゲームで物を削ぐっていうのはとても大事ではあるが、やっぱり追加して正しいものもちゃんと存在する。だからちょうどよかったらしいです。追加のものも、追加もしたし、でもちゃんと削ぎもしたというところでちょうどいいのができたらしいんですね。で、結局ウォーキングシミュレーター風にちょっとなっていくっていうのがね、なって、というふうに開発していったと。で、さらにですね、結果としてゲームはとても、でも、こう猫が、ね、飛んだり跳ねたりすると、とても楽しいで、ストーリーにコントラストもあるとっていうのがすごい良かったですね。で、それが去年の11月。で、結局、物もなんかいろんなものを追加していくだけじゃなくて、何かいいところをポリッシュ、いいところを磨き上げる、さらに良くしていくっていうのが大事なんじゃないかっていう。自分手前が作っても客観的な判断ができない目的にしちゃう。そうそうそう、それ。なんかね、そこでも大事にいろいろ考えないといけないんだろうね。Alright, and I'm back. Alright, so my question was very convoluted, sorry, but do you think you have an answer?
Yeah, so sort of you're asking sort of like, I guess you're asking if you want to make games, like is it more like should you focus on like should you focus on trying to make a like more of a story-based sort of like we can call it, let's say like a walking simulator or a very heavily core, like very heavy core mechanics game?
Okay, come to think of it, I don't like that question myself. So can I change it a little bit? I just want to simply
I
ask.
was, yeah.
Yeah, I want to simply ask, do you like walking simulators? How's that? That's much better. That's a much better question.
Yeah, I really like. I played What Remains of Edith
Yeah,
Finch recently,
yeah.
and I really liked it.
Well,
But I
yeah.
also like very complicated games. You know,
Ah,
like one of my favorite, like I really like Transport Tycoon. You know, like
oh,
this just
yes,
games that look like an operating system.
yes.
Uh,
なるほどね。今聞いたの。
so I'm not. Go ahead.
OK, thank you. とりあえず、いろいろ質問ね、しようとしたんだけど、ちょっと小難し昨日、この間の影響で小難しくなったので、シンプルに、ウォーキングシミュレーター系好きって聞いたら、好き。でも、なんか見た目がこう、プログラミングみたいな、なんか工場みたいなやつも両方とも好きっていうことだそうです。Alright, sorry? Go ahead.
But what I can say, what I can say about just without saying, you know, what is better or not,
Yeah.
because when you make games, it's important that you make something that you think is fun to make. It's not necessarily that you need to make games that you like. What kind of games you like to play
Yeah.
and what kind of games you like to make
Yeah.
sometimes overlap, but not necessarily. And I think you just need to choose, like, you know, some people can sit and write a big story in a text document and then be like, this will be a nice game, and then maybe they come up with like either maybe they do a more of a story-based atmospheric game like Edith Finch, for example. Maybe do something like that. But some people, you know, they be like they don't write a single line of story. They just start playing around with game mechanics. And I think my game has simple game mechanics and some kind of story focus. But what you might notice is that I did sort of it from both ways, because I started with the cat mechanics, and then I sort of wanted also to focus a bit on some kind of cute short story. So in my case, it actually comes from both directions at once. And I think you just need to find it comes back into, you need to make games in a way that you find fun. And for some people, it would be, you know, like coming up with a big story and then trying to put that into the context of a video game. And for some people, it would be like coming up with game mechanics. But some people end up in the middle. Like it has quite strong core mechanics, but the theme and the story sort of it must just be that the complete sort of experience is nice. That's the important thing in the end, right? And that the people who play it felt that it was a fun experience.
Sorry, it was a very big question. Yeah, and yes, each developer is
Yes,
different.
it was. I think it's quite good.
Oh, thank you. It's the game development is it does depend on people and players also. There's tons of players and everyone has their each and own opinion. But it is nice. Okay. いろんなやっぱりゲーム開発に関してちょっと一言いただいたんですけども、いろんなゲーム開発者のタイプがいると、やっぱりゲームメカニックから入ったり、ストーリーから入ったりすると。自分はストーリー、猫というものがいて、でそういう段階踏んで今のゲームができたが、そうじゃない人ももちろんいるよっていうことですね。で、ゲームを作るときに判断するのは、やっぱり自分が、プレイして楽しいゲームと作って楽しいゲームもまた別っていうのが、一言ありましたね。これ結構重要なことだと思うんですよね。ゲーム開発者は特に大変だと思うんですよ。自分はこういうゲームをプレイしたからこういうゲームを作りたいってイコールにしちゃうと辛い場合もあるかもしれないですもんね。逆にゲーム開発に対して何かこう楽しみを見出せてるっていう形だとは思うんですよね。Thank you. That was very interesting. A little question from the viewer who recommended you. Let's see. Were there any inspirations into the game, do you think?
I think yes. There's two parts. I mean, story-wise, I think the pancake story came maybe. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but maybe it's something related to the pancake eating cat or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Your cat, right?
but also, yeah, exactly, Pontus. But I think so when you play the game, it has sort of this. You're going to unexpected places. Maybe there's a bit of a space feel sometimes, but not really. And I wanted it to have this feeling of sort of this almost like there's hidden things like just around you everywhere. And I really, I really like both the space part. I didn't say that in the. I'm very interested in space and astronomy and stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, after I worked at Hazelight, I had a break from game dev for 3 years and I actually studied like physics and astronomy.
What? Wow.
But I had a long, I love Carl Sagan, Cosmos, all that stuff,
Carl Sagan.
the TV series about space.
Yeah.
So I love all that stuff, and I love the sort of both the cozy but also eerie feeling of space, that it kind of like this big unknown thing. So I wanted to put something like that in, but not too obvious. I didn't want it to be used, like fly into space, and it's more of a strange universe dimension kind of thing.
Yes.
So there was some inspiration from that, and the gameplay, I was thinking like gameplay wise, I was just I like 2D point and click adventures. So for the gameplay, I was just thinking of some games like that. But I was thinking, can I maybe do it as a 2D side scroller instead? But you can still pick up things and talk to people and progress a little story. But then there's no point and click. Instead, it's you use your controller or keyboard to move around.
Yes.
So I think I wanted to put this feeling, this weird space feeling combined with the adventure game thing in, but yeah.
So
then also make something that I could make.
Yes. That I think that last sentence is very important. Try to make something that you can make. I think that's very, very important for a lot of things, not only game creation. Okay, so you can
because I could try to make a 3D game or a very I could but this game like I was like, but maybe I can do some pixel art, maybe I need to be side scroller for it to be manageable for me, because I need to make all the graphics and the programming and and also I haven't I haven't done all the parts of a game myself before. So it's just that sort of felt like a scope or something that I could maybe handle.
Yes. The game developer of Minami Lane and Froggy's Battle, dude, he's also making 2D games, and he said a similar thing, that a manageable schedule. So he's trying to have a healthy schedule as a game developer. He's created 2 games, and he said it's manageable, but keep, I guess what you said, keep within yourself, which is very, very important, I feel. Okay, let me translate that. Okay, so sorry, just to recap. I don't think it seems like you didn't have like a direct influence by games or movies, but from bits and pieces everywhere it came to fruition in this game. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah. I don't. We'll see if maybe there is some subconscious thing, but
No, but subconscious is
not
just
off the top
experience.
of my head.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
この作品で、この作品がどのような、このゲームがどのような作品に影響を受けたかっていうのを質問してみたんですが、まとめると、いろんなとこからちっちゃいインスピレーションを受けてるけど、直接はあんまりなさそうな感じがするんですよね。猫とパンケーキは自身のね、やっぱり、飼い猫の話ですし、で宇宙っていうのはもともと好きで、ゲーム開発とかが3年離れて実は天文学を勉強されたそうなんですよね。でカール・セーガンという有名な天文学者もいるんですけど、その方の、話とか聞いたり、本読んだりしてすごいがっつりとやっていたそうなんですよ。だから宇宙は好きである。で、猫は飼い猫であると。でいろんなところのアイデアがあると。でそれが今の経験であったり、今のきっと無意識化でもいろんなゲームをプレイしてきた中で、プラットフォーム 2D プラットフォームが好きなので、それ系をポインターのクリック、それ系を作ってみたり、プラットフォームを作ってみたりっていうことをやっていたそうなんですが、一番重要なのが自分のできる範囲で自分のできることをちゃんと考えて、自分のできる範囲でゲームを作った。これがすっごい大事だと思う。もうね、これを 3D にしてなんかね、3D アクションとかにもできたかもしれない。2D にしてもっと話を長くいろんなメカニックを、入れていけたかもしれないけども、自分が、一人だしで、プログラミングをしないといけない。曲も作る、ストーリーもやる、もうなんだかんだやる。その中で、作るにあたり無理をしない、風呂敷を広げすぎないことかな。簡単に言えばこれが重要な気がするわ。That's very interesting. Thank you for that story. That was really good. What time is it? It's 9:30. Do you have time for a couple of more questions?
Yeah. No, we can go to. You said up to 120 minutes. It's fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Go on.
もう少しちょっと質問、皆さんもなんか質問あったら聞いてみてくださいね。Yes, because I go to indie game events and I do meet a lot of solo indie devs and what they are creating and what they want to create. Sometimes there's a big gap, and I really, it's kind of heartbreaking because I can feel their passion, and they have already started creating game, and I think that is already amazing. But I just hope that they don't crush under their own pressure, I guess. I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things that could happen to an indie game developer. So
Yeah, and I think that there are many people who maybe they're a bit maybe they have very big ideas of what they want to make, but when they start making it, they realize that when they start making it, it doesn't really become exactly like they intended it to be.
Yeah.
And then they don't react to this and sort of they don't change direction based on this. They kind of continue down this path because they had this initial idea. And I think as an indie developer, it's important to let you make the project, but you also let the project sort of tell you what it needs. So like you kind of after a while maybe you realize, oh, this stuff I put in is not fun, it's not working, but this thing that was not part of the original idea at all is quite good. Maybe I can change things around a bit to kind of make everything better. But I think some indie developers are they can get a bit stubborn with their original idea and just keep working on it, even though they don't even think it's fun themselves, and they can end up in trouble. And it is quite heartbreaking to see because they spend so much time on it, but it just seems like it's impossible for them to finish it almost, and like to get it to a polished state.
That is that okay. Thank you for that. 今ちょっと一言私が言ったのは、いろんなゲーム、ね、イベントに行って、そのゲーム開発者とお話しするんですけど、やっぱりこう私、J-monの話ですね。彼らが今作っているものとアイディア、乖離してる場合があるんですよ。で、やっぱり夢はでっかくじゃないですか。いろんなゲーム考えて、こういうのやりたい、ああいうのやりたいっていう中で、風呂敷広すぎちゃって、で、その自分の風呂敷に潰されるっていう場合、やっぱりあるじゃないですか。今コメントでね、もちろんあるように。すごい大事じゃないですか。で、彼が今言ったのが、あるだと。あることであると。で、大事なことの一つに、プロジェクトを自分の気ままにこうやっていくんじゃなくて、たまにはプロジェクト側に耳を傾けるのも重要じゃないか。どういうことかというと、ものを作っていくと。で、自分のアイデアでプロジェクト作っていって、ゲームを続けていって、で、ある程度来たら、あれなんか思ってたのと違うぞっていう時に、自分のアイディアのまんま、そのまま突き進めちゃうっていう場合があると。これはやめた方がいいそうです。なぜかという、なぜ突き進めちゃうかっていうと、今までやっぱりずっと開発してきて、このアイデアでね、ちょっと違うけど、結局今までの期間があるから、そのまま続けちゃう、だらだらとっていうのがある。これはできるだけやめた方がいい。じゃあどうすればいいかって。その時、プロジェクト耳を傾けて、確かに当初のアイデアとは違うが、今できたプロジェクトでここはいいな。じゃあこっち方面でちょっと今度は進めていこうかなっていう、ちょっとしたね、その柔軟性を持った方がいいんじゃないかとのことだそうです。すごくって思いますね。確かにね。なんかいろんなことで使いますね、これね。I think that can be useful for anything. Like if you're doing something, it's not going as the way you intended, but if you like observe it from a third person point of view, you could maybe go in a different direction.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, some people maybe they send the game out to play test, and then people just they will tell you, oh, this part isn't fun, but maybe play testing can only help you so much because if your game needs to change radically, then people's feedback in playtests will usually be like, I was confused by this thing, or that was fun, this was not fun. But finding that you must have something that you yourself, I think it comes back to, you must find something that you yourself think is both fun and that you also like working on. But
プレイテストでフィードバックをもらうときにやっぱりいろいろもらうんですね。いいところ悪いところとかね。でもたまにやっぱりゲーム開発をもう本当180度変えないといけない場合も出てくるかもしれないけども、結果としてやっぱり自分が作ってるのが楽しく、自分が楽しく作れていたら、そっちを自分が楽しく作れることに重きを置いた方がいいんじゃないかとのことだそうですね。確かにそうなんだよな。I guess feedbacks. I've read an article saying that if you want to start a project, say this is for a company, if a company wants to start a project, first make a prototype very quickly and then have the first feedback and then decide if you want to continue or not. I guess for a big company, they could do that. For indie gamers, it's probably a bit difficult, but I guess having feedbacks at different stages of the game is very important. I do feel that feedback is necessary. So I think this is a bit too much into game development, but what do you think?
No, but I think it's a good point, and I think for indie developers, what I did for my game was that when I at first, I was only playing around with the game as sort of my own little toy. But when I felt like, oh, maybe I can make this into a game, then I wanted to make sure that it was something other people also like. And at that point, I put together I worked a lot on making a first little playable version that kind of made sense to the people who played it, and then And then that's sort of when I started. I have my own Discord server, and I had a few people on there who wanted to try the game, and they came with that early feedback was super good. But you also need to be careful because some people. So I have one thing that feedback that everybody gave me that was not the correct feedback for the game. So one feedback in the beginning.
Yes.
This area that's playing on the clip here, the sort of foresty nature area.
Yes.
In the beginning, you have to go and find these pancake ingredients and stuff.
Yes.
But I had made the first level too big. Well, people were playing it, and you need to run back and forth quite a bit. It's a bit of a fetch quest essentially, but you need to run back and forth. And people were like, "Oh, it takes too much. It's a bit tedious to run around. Maybe you can add a sprint button." If you're a bit insecure as a game developer here, what will happen is you'll be like, oh, people say I must have sprint button. I'm gonna add sprint button.
Yes.
And then you put that in, and then you're in trouble because then like I said, you're scope creeping. Like, well, was that the correct idea for this game to put in a sprint button to run faster? And then you also, you have one more thing you need to put in a tutorial, and putting too many things in a tutorial just makes your tutorial tricky. And what was the correct solution, according to me, was not to put in a sprint button. The problem was that the first level was too big. I had made too much space between interesting things. There was too much of this just empty nature. So when everybody said that, I was like, should I sprint button? And I was like, no, I think the level is too big. So then I just went into the level editor and all these empty areas in between stuff, I just went in and deleted them and started compacting things. So the first level was almost twice the length.
Wow!
And like in between the sort of squirrel's tree and the waterfall was almost twice the distance, and it was just empty forest because it's very hard to know at first how much.
Yes.
How will it feel to run around?
That is
so that it could have gone very wrong there. I could have added a sprint button and kept the level very big, and there's just empty forest.
That is wow. Okay, thank you. That is okay. Yes, because I do feel that when I was playing the game, it was just the right amount of length. So it was long enough to appreciate the background and the pixel art, but not too long enough to get bored. Yeah, and if there was a sprint button, I think if there was a sprint button, I would want more in the game. I would want to utilize the sprint button in many more ways. So
and it sort of becomes this
action.
It sort of becomes this weird thing where maybe the other levels I was making that would come after this nature area was already much smaller. So in those areas, the sprint button would not be useful.
True.
So the problem was the first area was too big.
That is,
and it's just this extra thing to communicate. But anyway, so that's a thing about feedback, that you should listen. You should listen to feedback, and some feedback is obviously it's obvious. It's easy to address the feedback, and it's a universal truth about something that is bad that's easy to fix.
How did you
be like this, where some people react to something, but the recommendation is not the correct thing for this game?
True.
Because, like I said, the hardest thing in game design is choosing what's the correct thing to put for this specific game. So that's the it's super hard.
How do you know that? How did you know? What was your thought process in thinking that the stage is too big and not to add a sprint button? Was it because you didn't want to add something?
It was partly because it would make the game more complicated.
Yes.
Like it would make it's just an extra button and something extra to put in the tutorial, and I had already worked a lot on this cat running around, climbing mechanics, and I thought all that felt good. So adding in the sprint button, then it's also this thing, I build the level so that you can jump between this point and that point, and having to test with sprint button and not it's just complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, I could just, you know, when I was playing it, I was looking at their feedback about they wanting a sprint button or something like that. When then I tried the level, and my initial reaction was like, you know, I just felt there's too much empty space, you know. So there wasn't. I listened to what they said, but then I tried playing it myself and thinking, so what's the feeling here? And I was just like, no, it's if because when people give feedback, they will they want to be nice to you and say the simplest thing they can come up with that will fix the game, you know. So then they'd be like, okay, he has already made this big level. What's the simplest thing for him to do? Well, he can add a button that make you run faster.
True.
That's simple in
the player's
in
perspective.
theory, sort of. But it's very complicated for a game dev because it's like, this has lots of implications for me.
That is okay. All right. Thank you. All right. 今、はい、とりあえず基本的に今話してたところがフィードバックに関することなんですよ。ごめんなさい、もう最初何話したか忘れた。完全に忘れた。なんか覚えたら教えて。でもフィードバックに関してだったんですけど、ゲームを作成しているときにですね、そうだ、思い出した。いろんなプロト、よし、リセット。前、記事読んだんですよ。企業が、ゲームを出すときに、10億円、なんだっけ、10億円を浮かす方法っていうのがあって、それは、その企業がまず1000万ぐらいでプロトタイプを先にゲームの根幹のあるプロトタイプを作って、でそれでフィードバックをもらうこと。そうすれば10億浮くよっていう記事だったんですけど、まあ、半分合ってる半分間違ってるみたいな、まあ、面白い、とても面白い記事でした。でそれを言ったところ、やっぱり段階的にフィードバックもらうっていいんですかっていうのを追加で聞いたんですよね。でその返ってきたのが、自分のフィードバック経験でした。彼のゲームが完成仕掛けの時にフィードバックをもらった時に共通のフィードバックがあったんですよ、感想が。でもそれ間違っていたと。どんなフィードバックかっていうと、ゲーム中に買い物ゲームね、パンケーキの食材集めしないといけないからそれが軽いと、だからダッシュボタンつけてくれねえかっていうフィードバックがあったんですよ。でも彼はそこで分かった、ダッシュボタンをつけるではなく、彼が、正解だと思ったのはマップが広すぎるんだっていうところを思ったそうです。ダッシュボタンを加えるんじゃなくてマップを削ることにしたそうです。なので、実際に自分でプレイしてみたら確かに長いなって、間に空っぽのところがあるっていうことでマップエディターに行って空っぽのところを削除していったそうなんですよ。でそれでギュッとした。だから、最初のその今出てるこの林の部分、これ倍ぐらいの大きさがあったそうなんですよ。ここの判断すごい正解って本人も言ってるし、自分もそう思いますね。結果的に削ったから。フィードバックやるときに、フィードバッカーは最もやっぱりみんなね、いいこと言って優しいから、その非難じゃなくてなんか一番簡単なパッと思いつくアドバイスをしたくなる。でユーザー側としてはボタン1個あったら楽じゃんって思うじゃん。でもそうじゃん。でも開発側から見るとボタン1個付け加えるだけでいろいろ変えないといけないから大変だと。それだったら楽な方にでギュッとっていうのが、これがね、でそこを考えたそうなんですよね。で冷静に開発としてどちら、レース開発としてもゲームを最後の方来てたし、これちょっと今からやるの大変だし、加えるのもちょっとあれだなっていうことで削除しに行ったんですね。そう、無駄に広い何もない部屋とかなえる。そう。That is like the debate about I don't know, Starfield and maybe Cyberpunk and all the AAA games. I love all the AAA games right there. I played Starfield and Cyberpunk. Well, yes, empty open spaces versus a compact, dense space. I like both. But I guess it's a similar talk about that. Yeah.
And I saw the guy who made what's the game called? The guy who made Anti-Chamber. He recently wrote on Twitter. He was playing this game called what's it called? The Talos Principle 2, and he loved the first game, but the second game he thought there was too much empty space in between the puzzle areas. So and you know, so some people like that there is, because he thought the focus of the game was on the puzzles. So he thought that you can still have beautiful environments, but please try to make the distances between them a bit shorter, so you're just running in empty. You know, I also love I play Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And Witcher 3, it's such a beautiful game, and it's a big open world.
Yeah.
And just walking around on your horse in that game,
Yeah.
I often, stopped running with my horse and just walked
Mm-hmm.
because it was just so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have, but some games maybe don't have maybe depends on your style and graphics and what you want to like tell with the graphics and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. I do understand. ウィッチャー3、まあ確かにね、いろんなゲームあるけど、私がね、オープンワールド、ちょっとね、結構空っぽな部分あるよねっていう話、まあ両方プレイしたけど、サイバーパンクとかもね、それでも彼自身も、ただウィッチャー3を例に出して、ウィッチャー3でも確かに空っぽの部分もあるけど、見た目すごい良くて、その馬に乗ってこう移動するだけじゃなくて、たまに歩いたりもしたと。そういうのもあるよねって。ビジュアルの見せ方 vs その空っぽのめんどくささだよね。I guess this comes down to presentation. I always say, as a player, that the presentation is important in a game. Like how you present, for example, Borderlands 2 or Borderlands 1 especially. There's a lot of back and forth everywhere. It's just tedious, but the quests themselves are so weird. It's fun to go back and forth. But the first one you had to read, and I skipped a lot of dialogue because I didn't want to read. I just wanted to shoot, which made it kind of boring. But Borderlands 2, they had a lot of voice acting and action, and you had to see it, and it was so much fun. It's the same thing. You're doing all the same stuff, right? The game mechanic. Yeah, sometimes you see this weird, strange new game mechanics, but I can't imagine how hard it is for a developer to come up with a new one. But it's just a little presentation could change it a lot. This is coming from a player, by the way. I'm not a game developer at all. Everyone. No. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Hold on, just reading some of the comments. Yeah. There's a comment saying that there's this little, whatchamacallit. You have put in little tweaks here and there to perfect it, to make this game just right. So he played the game. Yeah. So, which sounds...
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, which sounds very nice. And second quarter, so that紙一重. Yeah, a big field. It's really a big field, a big map can be very, very good, but also can be very boring. Oh, what's that word? Oh, not word. What's that game you play in a real sandbox? ほら、砂場で歩くアドベンチャーなんだっけ? Oh my word. Yes.
Do you mean a sandbox as in there's actual sand? Or
yes,
do you mean...
yes, actual... you play in a kids play area, and you are a clay sword. You're a clay sword. This is a very good example. I will send it to you later. It's a 3D game, but the way they sculptured the world was really good. Really good. It's very dense. Okay. 誰か思い出したら教えて。ほら、赤と青のキャラクターがいてさ、子供のが砂場遊びするようなゲームなんだけど、3D ゲームで FPS でアクションゲー。2まで出てる。もう完全に忘れたわ。Okay. One more question. I think a bit about marketing and community management. I dabble in game marketing, and I've been talking to a lot of people saying that from now on, creating a new IP or continuing a new IP, that's one way, and creating a community is a way for a game to, I wouldn't say sell, but to get better numbers. Because in Japan, X or Twitter is still very popular. But even there, it's very hard to, I guess, reach people. So everyone's going back to old media, which is game media. For your game or for other indie games, how do you think indie game developers should proceed with marketing? Should they even do it? And if they do it, where can they start?
I think that you should... So people like... Players really like seeing what indie game devs do. Like, when an indie game developer is making a game that is fun to watch on a video clip, then it usually gets it gets some interaction on
Yes.
on Twitter or something. So and I think people like seeing stuff from indie developers. So I think if you're an indie developer, what you should do is you should just, whenever something that you think is fun happens in your game and it's something that's easy to record, just record a clip of it and just post it on Twitter. Just do that and see if people like it. It can be any silly thing, because you don't have the big pressure of a big developer to all, like you can be a bit more random and funny in that sense. Like just it can be buggy things, doesn't matter. And I think you can just start doing that. But I think many indie developers, they talk a lot about that the most important thing in indie game development is to start early with the marketing and really focus on it. And I think there is this confusion that you can't just make a game and if your game is not, how to say, the more important thing than doing marketing is that your game is marketable, so that you have a game. So if you have a game that people like, if you post lots of clips on Twitter and no one ever likes your clips, it's probably not that you're not doing the
bad marketing,
the sort of the social media marketing right. It's probably that maybe you're trying to put out something that's not marketable, or maybe just like you need to work a bit more on it to get some kind of wow feeling into it that people like. But if you're still if you think that your game by now should be well received but it still isn't, then maybe you have actually ended up with an unmarketable game. And that's a really tough thing, because essentially it's, if your game is not marketable, then no amount of marketing will ever, like, it will feel like screaming into the void. It will just be like, it will be like no one is listening, because it feels like nobody cares, and it's sort of the sad truth. So what I'm trying to say, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's a bit tricky.
I'm going to say something. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, they are marketable games. Don't Scream was a game founded on marketing. Don't Scream is a game, a realistic body cam style horror game, and you have to have your mic on. And if you scream, if your voice goes over a certain volume, you die. It's all well. I think over 1,000, a few thousand reviews, maybe even. And the developer had a Twitter thread saying that they went for the hook. It's the synergy between the mic, horror, streamers and stuff. So that was a very marketable game based on marketing. Now, I do believe there are many gamers, and I do believe a lot of those gamers also like game mechanics. So do you think that, yes, some games are not marketable, but the players will still like it? Do you think that you have to have a game that is marketable? What do you think?
No, I think you can get players that, like, there's lots of games, that have maybe they're several years old and they have 20 reviews on Steam, and you play them and they're sort of, there are some okay and fun games that some people liked. But I think in general, to make it a big success, I think you can feel it if you go to different media. Like, you can go to Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and you post different styles of clips everywhere. If nothing works anywhere, then then maybe you don't have something that's not marketable, or maybe you just need to work a bit more on it, or like, you know, I said, you need to make something that you think is fun to work on and that you think is fun to play.
Yeah.
But if you and I think that if you think it's actually fun to play, and there's some kind of passion behind it, and it's you know, and it's original, then I think people will see that, and I think your marketing will find success. I kind of think, you know, when people do this kind of thing where they come up with a game, and you know, we talked earlier about the people who they have this idea and they really want to make it, but it feels like, you know, it feels like they're a bit lost, like they're not really getting to the game they actually wanted to make. It's like there's something wrong. I think those kind of games are usually the ones that might have a hard time in the marketing, because you can kind of feel almost that something is off. But it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, it is very tricky because, as you know, as we know, there are games which really did well, say on Twitter, but doesn't like sell. It's like, and some games they suddenly sell. One of the mystery games for me and my friends now is Supermarket Simulator. It's like, why is this game selling? It's like, it's everyone's playing it kind of thing. And we always come to the conclusion, we can't understand Steam. Steam is difficult, is always the conclusion.
But sometimes it's also that, you know, a game like the other game you talked about,
Don't Scream?
Yeah, exactly, Don't Scream. Like, sometimes maybe it's that suddenly you got a few people, like maybe there's a few people who play it online that posted some clip that was very funny, like suddenly, and then like maybe the game was already 1 year old and then it got lots of traction or something. But I think also with Don't Scream, that that's a very marketable. If everyone did that, then it would be hard to market. But it was a very unique and funny thing, and it kind of plays well on social media. You know, it kind of like, oh, have you seen this crazy game that's horror game where you're not allowed to scream because then you lose?
True,
you know, just saying it like that, that's a good elevator pitch right there. But if everybody does that, then it's problematic.
Yeah, true. The hook, isn't it? The hook is very important.
Yeah, and just for indie games, like if you are a big AAA, then you can rely a bit more on just
pure marketing,
polishing something.
Sorry.
But also polishing something that sort of until it shines, but it's not very unique.
Yeah.
But for indie game developers, I think the way you find that marketability is by trying to be a bit unique and creative and different in some way.
Okay.
And while still also making something that you want to make. So it's just, you know.
Yeah, it's, as you said, tricky, right?
Yeah, but I think that if you're especially if you're like a small team, maybe 1, 2, 3 people, and you're making a game, if you really like working on it and you polish it a lot, then lots of your own personality will end up in the game. And that's the thing. Indie games usually have lots of personality.
Yes.
And that will make them in some way unique. But if you're trying to be like, okay, I like city builders, and then you're just trying to make something that looks like SimCity, and you know you're not it feels fun, but maybe you're not feeling super excited about it. And maybe you'll be able to put your own personality into it, and then it won't seem very creative and unique, and then the marketability will not be there, and it will be hard to market. So I think do something that do something that's put your own personality into the game to make sure it's unique. Because that's the one thing you can do as an indie developer. The big studios can't, because they're a small team that they can do whatever they want.
All right, okay, I got that. Okay, you're now still, but I think I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a bit broke up, but
Yeah. Okay. It has been 2 hours. Let me translate the last part and then we can say goodbye. Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Sorry, first, まずマーケティングについてちょっとお聞きしたんですよね。本来はね、1時間とか2時間かけて話すトピックなんですけど、最後にちょっとだけ、本人もね、やっぱりいろんな YouTube とかやってるので、そこも考えていらっしゃると思ったので聞いてみました。インディーゲームのマーケティングすべきかどうか。で、もしするんだったらどうすればいいかっていう話をしたんですよね。ですね、マーケティングは、例えば、難しいのが、ゲームを例えばツイッターに上げて、ツイッターだったら TikTok とかいろいろ上げるでしょ。で、その時にやっぱりこうバズるやつとかバズるやつとかあるじゃないかっていう話ちょっとなったんですよね。で、やっぱりバズりやすいっていうのは存在はするんですよ、どうしても。で、それはマーケティングできるかどうか、マーケタブルっていうことですね。マーケティングできる素材かどうかっていう部分、もしくはマーケティングに足りうる素材かどうか。だから自分そのクリップを見て、絵を見て、お、何これって思わせられるかどうか。これがすごい重要って。で、もし、どこに出してもなんかバズらないんだったら、そういう系のゲームではない。そういう系っていうのは、パッと見で、なんか、おって思わせるものではない。ドントスクリームっていうのを、前マイクにね、叫んだりっていうのもあるし、マイクに叫んだら死ぬってやつあったでしょ。あれはそのコンセプトが面白い。見た目がバズるってやつも結構ある。なので、マーケティング自体はやっぱり必要。ではある。ただ、すべてのゲームがマーケティングできるわけではない。じゃあどうすればいいのか。開発者自身が自分が好きなものを作りつつ、ある程度周りの人が周りの目を引きつけるものを作らないといけない。ここ。それは、こうすればいいっていうのはなかなかないけど、ここ重要なことだと思う。本当はね、もっといろいろと深く話したいんですけども、2時間経っちゃったので、これにしたいと思います。もう一度、やっぱり、すごい微妙なところなんだけど、マーケティング、やっぱりね、マーケティングしてるときに、難しいんだよね。そのゲームがつまんないわけじゃないのさ。I'm trying to say that it doesn't mean that the game is boring. It means that the game is very unmarketable. I think there's a clear difference there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just maybe the game is fun to play.
Yeah.
Say that your game is fun to play,
Yeah.
and and maybe just missing two things, but you know that they're gonna be there, and it's all gonna be good in the end.
Yeah.
But maybe until you get those extra things in there,
Yeah.
that maybe that's in your head, but it's
Yeah.
all still, it just sort of. It might be fun when we can say like this instead.
Yeah.
The game might be fun when you play it, but maybe your graphics and interaction isn't polished enough, so it doesn't come across as fun
Yeah.
on a video,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
example. Then maybe you're not marketable
No.
because no one is gonna.
Yeah.
Everyone who looks at this is gonna go like, it doesn't look fun.
Yeah.
Or maybe your game doesn't have any music or sound yet, so it's just
Yeah.
a silent clip. Then people might also be like, okay, it can be. You have to figure out what's the big, when you just look at a clip and you imagine that you are someone who has never seen this. What are they gonna think? What
Yeah.
are they gonna understand what's going on?
Yes.
Is it gonna look fun?
Thank you. I think that's the part that I wanted. もしその動画とかなんか画像を上げたときに、プレイしたら楽しいゲームではある可能性はもう全然あるね。でももしあんまり引きがなかったら、例えば音楽なかったり、もうちょっとグラフィックこれから入れる予定であったり、これからもうちょっとなんかブラッシュアップするっていう状態の時に、出すことは絶対あるわけでしょ。こうやってポンとツイッターとかにね。なのでもしそれでも引きがなかったら、どうやったらそれ見てる人がこれ面白そうだなって思わせるかっていう方向から見せないといけない。実際の画角でもあるし、何を見せるかっていうのも大事になるとは思うっていうことだそうです。本当はね、これね、もうちょっと時間取るべきだったんですけどね、ごめんなさいね。Sorry, the last question, this should be like another 2-hour talk, marketing, but thank you for that answer. Thank you very much for that. Okay, yes, do you have anything else to say? Oh, thank you much for the bits. That's the guy who recommended you. ビッツありがとうございます。これはゲームを買おう。ありがとうございます。本人の やつもあるので、皆さんね、Oh, and the game that I was talking about was Supraland. Do you know that game?
Superland.
Supraland. It's
No.
okay.
Superland. Okay.
Yes.
I'll check it out.
Yes. I'll put it on Discord chat. Hold on, where's Discord chat? Okay, there you go. It's put it on Discord. Do you have anything? How's your about your game development? Any events coming up? Anything?
Next, I mean, events. I'm going to Germany actually next week for Amaze, which is Amaze Berlin, which is a very art house video games conference festival thing.
What's it called?
I'll be there. It's called Amaze, like Amaze. So instead of Amaze, it's like Amaze. And you can Google Amaze Berlin. It's an art house video games festival, sort of. I'll be there. But in general, I will. If people are interested, like people can Google my name on. You can search my name on YouTube, and I have this YouTube channel where, if you're interested in the game dev stuff, I do streams and videos on game development. It's quite often a bit technical, but sometimes I'm also just painting pixel art. It varies a bit exactly what it is. And I'm currently in this prototyping phase where I am still trying to figure out what to do, like what my next game is gonna be. So I'm just trying different things. So it's a bit varied on there right now what I'm doing. So it might be fun to check out. I have live streams where I do game dev. I have videos. I even have a little podcast these days where I interview other game developers.
Yes, that's all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So I think if you're interested in any of this, then you can just go search for Carl Zielinski on YouTube. And you will find my channel.
I've put out the link there, so everyone can see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a Twitter link and YouTube link. Twitter と YouTube リンク貼りました。YouTube でですね、やっぱり、動画のゲーム開発に関して、いろいろ、ゲーム開発ですね、実際の。ここみたいになんかゲーム開発にふわっとじゃなくて、実際の、開発の中身について話したり、ポッドキャストもやってるみたいです。I do have to ask, do you think localization for the game, do you think it's very difficult for Cat and Onion?
Yes and no. I didn't. It was sort of one of the things I didn't do. I didn't put in technically the support for localization from the start. I've looked at a bit at the code, and I think it's possible to do. I just need to work on something else for a while. But if I have, I'm not gonna say never, but I'm thinking that maybe. But I can't promise anything. But maybe when I'm done with my next game, maybe I can come back to Cat and Onion.
I see.
And do and add in the support for localization, and then Japanese would be one of the languages because I have had, among some other languages that people who have reviewed it. I've seen some Japanese people. I even saw there was even a person who I don't know if it's one of your viewers who did play through the whole game and translated the whole game.
Wow!
Live on video.
Wow!
Yeah, it's an amazing amount of work.
Wow.
Like he does a
That's great. That's great help, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the translation. But
Okay.
So it's obvious that Japanese people are a bit interested.
Thank you. Alright, I'll tell that. まず、これから先何かありますかと聞いたところ、もしくは宣伝したいこと。こちらツイッターですね。カール・ゼリンスキー、ゲーム開発者になります。で、YouTube もやっております。英語わかる方はぜひチェックしてみてください。で、それに英語わかって開発者の方もぜひチェックしてみてください。で、ゲームに関して、キャット&オニオンに関してですね、ローカライズの話ちょっと聞いてみたんですけど、ローカライズ、コード、もともとローカライズができるような仕様ではなかった。ですよ。でもコードを改めて見直すともしかしたらできるかもしれない。でも今新しいゲームの構想もすでに始めていると。で、なので次のゲームをもう作っている最中であると。なのでもしかしたらですよ、戻ってきて、その新しいゲームを作った後に戻ってきてローカライズ ちょっと対応できるかもな。でその場合、日本語も候補に入っているそうです。日本レビュー結構あるからね。とのことです。ただこれは多分1年、2年とかかかるレベルだと思います。I think this will take like, 1, 2 years kind of thing. So I told them that. It'll probably take 1 or 2 years.
Uh, yeah. We'll see if
Yeah.
it's not anytime soon if I do it at all.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll
this
see.
is the video of the person who translated the game while playing. If you're interested to see. Oh, thank you for that.
はい、どうも、ヒロテクです。
すごいです
ということでね、今日はキャッ
ヒロテックさんという方。Okay, thank you for the link. Thank you for the link.
トバイソンへ
Oh, wow. That is, oh my word. They have,ちょっと待って。This person has everything on there. これか。ちょっと
Is it the one I talked
Yes,
about?
yes, 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 yes. ほら。ここ字
Yeah,
幕
this
つけ
is
てる
is
わ。
this one of your viewers?
No, 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 no. This is another. I just think a fellow content creator. Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. This
It's
is.
very amazing.
And this takes so much time. They've like same
Yeah.
color, similar font. Oh,
Yeah, it's very well made.
すごい。これヒロテクさんという方だそうです。Alright, I'm gonna follow this person. Alright. Okay, sorry. Time is already over 2 hours. Thank you. Thank you
Oh.
very much for coming.
Thank you.
Alright.
Thanks for having me.
No, no, thank you. I hope you had fun. We had fun. Alright.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, thank you. So we say goodbye. I cut the stream and then we talk a little on Discord and then we say goodbye. So thank you very much, everyone. 皆さん本当に本日ありがとうございました。I just going to do title call and stuff and say goodbye. インディゲーム開発者に直接話を聞くラジオ、インチョク。本日はキャット&オニオンのゼリンスキーさんでした。Thank you very much. It was great fun. 以上私、J-mon と、and can you say your name and say goodbye?
Yeah, I'm Karl Zelinsky, and thank you all for watching this little interview. And I had great fun doing it. Thank you all.
Thank you. And we just wave and say goodbye. Take a goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. We wave a bit. We wave a bit. We wave a
Bye.
bit. Yes, we wave a bit. And then I slowly cut all the streams.